People's Bank
All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Let's get right into this video.
of China just announced that a digital Chinese yuan settlement system will be fully connected to 10 ASEAN countries and 6 Middle Eastern countries, which means that 38% of the world's trade volume is now going to bypass the US dollar SWIFT system. Now, this is partly in response to the tariffs, but the other thing to keep in mind here is that SWIFT takes 3 to 5 days when it comes to cross-border payments, whereas China's new digital yuan can pay someone in 7 seconds and is also backed up by blockchain technology, and which makes money laundering impossible. This is the beginning of the end of the US dollar. And I don't mean to be an alarmist, but if you're someone who thinks about getting taxation residence in another country in order to do geo arbitrage, for the love of God, you'd need to do it now. Because if you wait for another 5 years, you might find that your dollar is literally worth nothing. The people's
Right, so exactly according to China, right? The China has apparently launched their own brick-like system to the ASEAN countries. So I'm guessing countries around Asia and the Middle Eastern countries. So Iran, you name it. So here's the thing, right? With China, we know that China is getting sick of America. They've been sick of America for a while. And what we also realize is that with the current system of SWIFT, the SWIFT system seems quite clunky and slow. 3 to 5 days for cross border payments, where for China, it's only 7 seconds. At this point, there is becoming a ever increasing reason to not use Swift and just to deal with Swift, right? The system of Swift is old, it's backed by the power of America, and it takes too long for payments. What else and what more reason is there to deal with Swift? So, according to this, it says there's a news report circulating that China announced it had linked its digital RMB cross border payment system to 10 ASEAN countries and 6 Middle Eastern jurisdictions. We have not been able to trace this reliable source. It may not be fake news, however, the substance of the report is 90 million miles from the facts. It's likely jumping the gun by a few years. And it may not be jumping the gun by a few years. It may be here now. So, let's get out some scriptures. Right. And let's get Revelation chapter 6 verse 6. Let's get the NIV version. And then when I heard what sounded like a voice among the four living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages. Do not damage the oil and the wine. Right. So we have these tariffs, right, that are already about to kick in. And with the tariffs, we have Trump flip flopping from having the tariffs versus not having the tariffs versus putting 90-day uh pause on the tariffs and then ramping up the tariffs and then trying to bomb Iran. Basically, at this point, I'm not even sure what the tariff percentage is right now. I'm pretty sure it's 145 on China, but on other sources, I'm hearing that Trump reduced it to 10%. Either way, this will make the American consumer pretty mad because this puts an uncertainty in the market. So it says in 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall be suddenly found empty, right? So one day you're just going to go to the grocery store, it's just going to be empty. And it ain't going to be restocked either, right? The only time it's going to be restocked is during the time when, you know, the CHIP is available and you won't be able to buy or sell without it. So we're pretty close to this time. You're going to start seeing things just not be there, or there's going to be less of it. As you know, there is a big supply chain hit during, I believe it was 2020 or 2022, where we had all these fires and laser beams basically destroying supply chains. And then now we have H5N1. Like I said, food's not going to be ready available like that no more. So, it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. And the day when the keepers of the houses shall tremble, and the stronger men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few. Those that look out the window be darkened, right? So working is going to come to a halt. Because what you got to understand is, once we go through this next crash or this next economic collapse, right? You got to understand is that you have investors in these companies, right? So you have people that may invest in, I don't know, nursing buildings, or just invest. You have investors for certain hospitals, is what I mean, right? And then you may have investors for certain companies, right? Tech companies is a biggest example. They always get layoffs like every year right before the year ends. And then just layoffs in general because things will be just too expensive, right? You'll have a category where it'll just become completely pointless to work because everything is too expensive. And then you'll also have another category where the investors start bouncing out and the company starts to fall or has to shut down, right? They have to lay people off. Right, and then you have the banking system, right? You got banks even closing down. So this is the reality we're coming to. Now, here's the thing. We don't know how long it will take to this point, but with all the news going on with BRICS, China's opposite system, and Trump, right, being put there to mess everything up, it could very well be this year. We don't know. So I hope this lesson is very edifying. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Hope this lesson was edifying to the elect and hopeful elect. Thank you to the elders, apostles, brethren, help teach this truth, and shalom.